Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Buffalo Bills Maybe Next Year, the podcast that may have felt it was too anchored down. And so we've decided to enjoy return to old glory via a great technology called the Google Hangout to deliver this to you live and without people constantly dropping off. And we'll discuss some football. I'm Paul.
I'm Scott.
And I'm Frank, and I'm happy to hang out with you too.
So. All right, good. We've got like 2 or 3 puns already in here, and we're not even 40 seconds in. So that was excellently done. So yeah, we for those of you, and Frank should technically formally make the announcement because he's the one who discovered what we initially thought was a great technology. It worked really well one time when we were all on, but unfortunately our use with the Anchor app has ended somewhat tragically, it seems. So we are back to the old school.
Well, like nobody died. It's just
well,
it's just not
that
very...
we know of. I mean, there could be like a hamster's in a wheel running to keep the Anchor app going. Whenever we drop, it's one of the hamsters that's died.
Right, that's fair. But I mean, I guess fair is a little strong. But yeah, it just, no disrespect if other people like it and use it. I really wanted it to be better, but it was incredibly unstable, and I could never get it to work the way it was supposed to. And
you've just described most people's marriages.
Oh, geez. All right.
I
hope everything's okay, Paul.
No, yeah, sorry. We're all fine. All fine.
Anyway, we're gonna move along because we're very late getting started.
Yes.
Here. So we're on Hangouts tonight. We'll post this link to you all, and then as I look for new and different solutions, I'll keep everyone posted.
All right, sounds good. And so we'll jump right into it, and we'll move as quickly as possible through the initial segments since we've already done this once. The Bills, it's been relatively quiet this training camp, but of course, the thing everyone wants to talk about off the bat is the quarterback battle. It would seem that Josh Allen right now is entrenched at number 3. They're going to be patient with him, and that there's a battle for McCarron and Peterman perhaps for number 1. Now, starting with you, Frank, would you agree with this assessment? What's your take on what you've seen and read so far with the training camp quarterback battle?
Yes, I would agree. And as we've already done this segment, I'll try and summarize it. But my thoughts were, first of all, they do seem to be keeping Allen in at the 3rd spot, and he's going to have to earn his way into the top 2. The Peterman McCarron is a toss up to me. As I had said to you guys before, it won't be as funny this time, largely because they're both human bodies that are under contract. I don't know that there's a discernible thing that they like better about one than the other, or if anybody's got some sort of inside track, but I wouldn't really think that anybody's super thrilled about either guy. They just they're there, but Allen's not ready yet. He's doing some good things. He's certainly making some throws and has some acumen, which is hard to reconcile with the people who are sort of really planting their flag in the Josh Allen will be the worst quarterback ever. I really am an advanced statistics type of person, but I think people have really sort of they've really bet the over on this one with his measurables. And here I am watching him in camp, and he certainly, they make it sound like he can't throw a football at all, and he certainly can, and he certainly has some skills. So I was ready to be excited about him, and here everybody's raining on my parade in the national media. The good news is we'll wait and see, because all of this will be sorted out eventually, which I think Scott will now speak to.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Paul had noted that with training camp the way it is, it's a bit obviously everyone's focused on the quarterback drill, but at the same time, it's kind of much ado about nothing, because whether it's McCarron or Peterman, it's kind of like who is the last Pony Express rider who brings a letter out west before the telegraph shows up. There's no. I'm not saying that Allen is going to be head and shoulders better than any of those other guys. It's just it's going to be his job eventually. Now, one of those guys, if there's a big part of the bell curve that says Josh Allen's going to get at least 18, 24 starts, 32 starts before someone does something different with that position. Is it possible that Peterman and McCarron could somehow turn into Joe Montana? Yes. That's not a good bet that anyone really should probably take. So I think yeah, it seems like, McCarron is taking a lot of sacks. It seems like some people have noted in camp. Peterman seems like he's been a little more willing to like throw the ball down the field sometimes, which obviously people like. At the same time, he's probably got a little more experience in the offense, but at the same time, we did change offensive coordinators. Mm-hmm. But again, none of these things really matter all that much. Who's starting on opening day doesn't really matter that much. Josh Allen performing well is the most important thing. So if he is okay, if he is, regardless of whatever they're doing, as long as it's moving him to being a good quarterback for this team at some point, then all systems go. It's impossible to tell any of those things right now.
Yep. And I think it's gone as expected. At least we were sold this bill of goods, and it's the bill that is being, no pun intended, it's the bill that we're experiencing. They've said Josh Allen had a high upside, but would need time to develop. We're seeing those highlight deep bomb throws. We're seeing some pinpoint accuracy over the middle, and then we're seeing him overthrowing screen passes and not saying his feet properly and everything they told us about. And he's probably going to be in that number 3 slot to start because he still needs to develop those skills. And as Scott said, totally fine with us. This is not the most optimistic Bills fan does not see this as the Super Bowl championship season. So let him develop, let the team go with the best quarterbacks that can help them win this year, but making sure they're developing Allen because he will be the long-term solution. And then the battle at the top, between Peterman and McCarron. Boy, this sounds so weird to be throwing around those names as the battle at the top. But that is the situation the Bills find themselves in. We've both seen, what we believe their strengths to be. Although maybe I shouldn't jump to that conclusion with Peterman because we didn't really know he had strengths. But apparently he does, and we've seen some of them on the deep ball during camp. He hasn't been as consistent, which is why I believe McCarron is the only member of the bunch that started with the one team 2 straight practices. Otherwise, they've been rotating. But it's still very much an open battle, and I'm interested in seeing how the preseason plays out, starting with tomorrow's game, and then being able to make more of an educated decision once we have more film on that. But one area we know where the Bills are extremely dissatisfied with their depth is wide receiver, by virtue of the fact that they made a trade with the Cleveland Browns for wide receiver Corey Coleman, who is a first-round pick in 2016. The Bills only had to surrender a 33rd round pick in 2084. Oh no, I'm sorry, I misread my notes. That's a 7th-round pick in 2020.
There was a bag of hammers there too, right?
Right. I think there's a bag of hammers. They also gave him the bag of balls, not a proverbial bag of balls, but literally they gave the Browns a bag of balls they need for practice. So I think that was the full throttle of this exchange. So what I'm interested in on this, and we'll start with Scott this time since we started with Frank last time, is this is going to affect the wide receiver depth chart battle. We have Benjamin and Curley right now seem to be the top 2, kind of scary. Then Holmes, Streeter, Dupree, Riley, Prohl, McLeod, throw them in any order you want. They clearly think Corey Coleman can contribute. So my question would be, do you expect him to come in and immediately contribute, maybe catch 30 to 50 passes this year, or is he going to be in a fight to make the roster and end up buried?
I think it's definitely more of a, 4th or 5th kind of Marquise Goodwin level player is kind of what we're looking for here. I don't think, it'd be great if we got more out of him than that. He did win the Biletnikoff while he was at Baylor, but he is, I was just reading an article from one of the Cleveland papers today, and I don't have Hard Knocks or HBO or anything, but apparently there was like a review that they did of it, and it was like Todd Haley yelling at Corey Coleman for not hustling on plays and giving up on stuff, and he'll catch some balls, but then he'll kind of give up on some comebacks and things that lets other guys get in there, and obviously doesn't matter how talented you are to a certain extent. If you're not going 100%, you're probably not going to last long on a Sean McDermott coach team. Credit to Bean for getting him in for, again, basically nothing. Certainly, just based off of speed alone, he's got some potential. But yeah, I don't think to me, I think if you look at the depth chart overall, obviously Benjamin won. There's questions about exactly what Zay Jones is going to do for this team right now, at least the first couple weeks of the season at minimum, given how little time he's had in camp, given the lack of conditioning time he's had in the offseason because of his injury, not to mention everything else going on. So, maybe he's supposed to be the number 2, but obviously then, so Curley is kind of in there at slot receiver / number 2. And then after that, yeah, Coleman could probably get in there, but it's not, again, based off of the fact that he was available for this price, I can't imagine that he's going to be blowing away Brandon Riley or Malachi Dupree or, Rod Streeter or some of the other guys we have on this team. Again, he's got a bit more of a pedigree, which means you maybe let him, if you see that he is fully motivated and wants to get better, maybe you let him hang around a little bit longer, but that's about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing that that bugs me about this trade is that how many times has McDermott and Beane talked about availability being the most important ability, and the other thing that was like they want to draft like good quality guys, and I know that's a lot of coaches to a lot of extent, but they sort of really make a thing about like, they don't want troublemakers and they want people who can be here. And here's this guy who's literally his career so far is injured, and the other thing is that he's definitely had some off the field issues. So in a lot of ways, it's the exact opposite of what you would think a McDermott and Beane player would be. Now, obviously, I guess maybe what I take away from that is everything has its price, and if you can get a quote unquote first round talent for a 7th round pick, then you compromise a little on your idea of what exactly it is, and maybe you talk yourself into saying, well, he probably just needs to be in a better place. And certainly there's an argument that if they feel like they've got a better locker room, maybe they can take in a person who would be certainly on the outside looking in coming into camp, and sort of see if they can push him to fit with the Bills as opposed to expect him to be a leader or a tone setter. But I did find that a little interesting. I don't want to quite call it disingenuous or anything, but here we are spending a whole year and a half talking about getting the right guys in here. We sent Sammy Watkins away, and now we're getting basically like meaner Sammy Watkins who doesn't play as much. So in some ways, I think that I'm with Scott. He's looking to try and fit in at 3, 4, and 5. I think the top 2 spots are going to be there. Zay Jones is a weird case. He's not going to play today either. And I mean, his press conference was certainly very good. I feel like what I took away from it was a person who really did sort of have a holy cow moment this summer, and seems to be genuine in his appreciation for it and appreciation for where he is. But he's also way behind. And if this was a remotely talented wide receiver core, he might already be gone. But it's not. It's literally Kelvin Benjamin, who's pretty good, and everybody else. So, the new guy, I feel like he's got a legitimate shot to be, in that 3rd, 4th, or 5th spot on the team, largely based more on the lack of talent rather than anything particular he has to offer.
Yep. It's not a thrilling discussion talking about the Bills wide receiver depth. So any sort of yawning, totally.
I apologize.
No, I mean, it's tough to discuss. Like, we're in Greg Salas territory, basically, if you remember Greg Salas and his one highlight with the Bills. But yeah, I think he has a chance exactly because of that reason, because of the lack of depth. I don't worry as much about the potential character issues at this point, because they've also shown the ability to want to give those players a chance. They did it with Marcel Darius, and when it still wasn't happening, they jettisoned him. And so what I'm trying, and they mentioned, when Poyer and Hyde came to the team, I guess they had some baggage as well, but they've ended up being, stand-up guys in Buffalo. So, hopefully they get over that hump, but you can be exactly right. And maybe they end up being.
Just to clarify, I'm not worried. I'm not personally worried about it. They make such a big deal about it that it seems like and like the same with just Darius. Like, they gave Darius a chance largely because his contract commanded they do. They really
Right.
couldn't,
Good
at the
point.
beginning, get rid of him. And when they did get rid of him, they had to basically like just give him away. And so I think that, you know, the price here is what puts them in a similar position of, I don't want to call it compromise, but like they give a lot of lip service to it. And I think it's interesting to note that when the price is right or the price is way wrong, they tend to sort of stick with players that they would prefer, you know, that they outwardly would say they wouldn't.
Right. Yep. No, that's a fair point. So, yeah, I think he'll probably slot into that 3-4 to 3-5 spot as well, 3-4-5 receiver. I think he'll get some reps. I think the Browns receiving core is stronger than the Bills. In fact, I think it's difficult to make an argument otherwise, and he just wasn't going to fit in there. He's got some catching up to do. I didn't even mention Zay Jones when I talked about the depth because we haven't seen him yet, save, you know, right, he's been running with the red jersey on. So we'll see how that goes. But because of the lack of depth, he's got a chance to crack the roster. I don't think he's going to be a superstar. I don't think we'll look back at this as being a highway robbery type of trade. But if it ends up being like when they, you know, picked Sean Merriman off the scrap heap years ago, yeah, you'll get a decent, you know, half season out of him, and then he'll come back and play another okay season, and then that's it. Then, you know what, you've given up. That's more than you usually get out of a 7th round pick, which is what they gave up for it. So totally good with that. And that leads into maybe some more exciting positional battles. I'd highlighted 4, as you guys saw on the agenda. You can feel free to go into, you know, whichever ones you wish. We'll start with Frank since we started with Scott last time. I had offensive line, specifically the interior line. They seem set with Miller and Dawkins to tackle, and really DeCassia left guard. So it's Miller, Bodine, and Groy for 2 spots. The edge rushers, you know, between Hughes, Murphy, Shaq, Yarborough, Odi was cut. And then, you know, maybe the nickelbacks too, Teron Johnson, Phillip Gaines. Let us know, you know, what you're thinking, Frank, is where some of the battles for some of those first string roles might end up coming down to.
Yeah, I think ever since, you know, Eric Wood's untimely retirement, it's been about center for me. The talent, it's weird. Their offensive line is set largely because it's so terrible. And so like the guys they have are the guys they have. And they're not really going to get better, probably. If they do, it's not apparent yet. Bodine and Groy, though, is a big battle, and I think we'll get some clarity on that in these first 2 weeks. Who's lining up with the first team, who's lining up with the second team. Or if they keep a specific center with a specific quarterback, I think is another thing to look for. Because I think you'll want to see that if, you know, let's say they think Peterman has the lead, they might want him working with Groy if they think Groy is going to be the center. And so even if Peterman gets the second reps, he's working with Groy 1 week and he's working with Groy the next week, regardless of when he's in the game. You're right. I think nickel is probably another spot. I mean, I don't really think that there are a lot. I mean, Trent Murphy, Shaq Lawson is going to be fun. I think personally, I think Shaq Lawson is on like his, and we've talked about it before. He's on his last chance with this team. But he can certainly be an impact player. I don't know that he can take a spot from Trent Murphy, but I think he can certainly play himself into that, you know, fourth or fifth lineman on a blitz kind of position or rotating. He can certainly solidify his position. Harrison Phillips is second behind Starr right now on the unofficial Bills depth chart, which is on the website. But I mean, there's no reason to think that he couldn't. If Kyle starts to take, you know, a dive, he could probably play left defensive tackle. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. Other than that, I don't know how many position battles I'm particularly watching right now. I guess the other one that I read about, which I hadn't been thinking about, would be third running back, right? Like Travaris Cadet, like had some really nice moments, and I'd like him to be the second quarterback, honestly, instead of Chris Ivory. But you know,
or even the second running back.
I was going to say, yeah. If he's the quarterback, that might be
the second quarterback, right? I mean, he might not be that bad at second quarterback, but yes, second running back. But you know, can he solidify his position on this team? And then you're going to like these guys, like we're talking about 3rd round people. They're all going to, who's returning punts, who's returning kicks, and how long can they last? How versatile can they be? How multiple, if you will, to the team. But that's kind of that's what I'll be watching for, I think.
All right, Scott, your thoughts on some of the depth chart battles?
Frank literally got them all, so there's not really much more for me to say. No, he didn't. I think the only one I'll add is it'd be interesting just to see what happens a bit with the tight ends. Obviously, Clay's been dinged, I think, and O'Leary, I feel like, has been dinged a little bit too. So, just I guess Logan Thomas kind of hanging around there. Again, more of a catcher, but I guess Lee is around too for a little while there. So that's someone to look at too. But yeah, I mean, most as Frank pointed out, yeah, I mean, the other side from Jerry Hughes, that's a little interesting. Paul, Frank already talked about them all. And the only other one, maybe look at the linebackers, maybe I guess Julian Stanford kind of coming up a little bit. Tanner Vallejo kind of dropping out. Dion Lacey kind of moving up to be behind Lorenzo Alexander. That's a little interesting just because over the long term, Lorenzo probably doesn't have another year on this, not more than one more year on this team. So you kind of start looking for some talent and who's going to step up there. But obviously there's still plenty of time to figure that out too. So yeah, that's pretty much all of them.
Yep. I would, I don't really want to spend much more time on that simply because I think it's covered. The only thing I'll add is on the offensive line battle. I think I'm secretly hoping it's going to be Groy and then Miller at the other spot, because if it's Groy, then I'll feel like, okay, it justifies the opinion we had of him as a good center when he stepped in for Eric Woods years ago and that he's beaten out someone in Bodine, a frowned upon center based on no Bengals fans I saw were exactly, aggravated that he was now, he'd been gotten rid of. So that I'm kind of hoping plays out that way, but may the best man win. And then I was going to mention linebacker as well. Edmonds, Milano, Alexander. You think Edmonds is pretty well set in stone. Milano and Alexander, they're definitely the front runners, but for various reasons, including what Scott mentions of Alexander maybe only having one more year, that's probably going to be an interesting battle. Humber reemerges if Lacey steps up and so forth. So speaking of, training camp, I am going to knock, and I encourage all of you to knock on wood right now. We have not seen any significant injuries so far throughout training camp. We've got, Zay Jones is now back in action after missing the beginning of camp as a precaution. Trent Murphy's missed a little time with a hamstring. John Miller missed a little time as well, but everyone is back and practicing, it seems. So probably no reason to go into more depth there. Other minor news I wanted to mention before we get to the most important stuff, which is, wacky schedule. Fred Jackson is rejoined the Bills on their TV.
Yeah.
You want a third running back? We got a good one for you. So he'll be doing the preseason games. He'll be part of the analysis team as well. It's going to
be on the local.
That is what I'm looking up, because I'm wondering if he's also going to do some radio coverage, because that is, for those of us who live outside the Buffalo area, we really like the radio coverage. So I was trying to look at the article, which I've now lost, on Fred Jackson joining the Bills as a commentator. But he'll definitely be involved in the preseason telecast, which are rerun on NFL Network. So we should be able to catch him then. And hopefully he's come to the radio soon near you. And otherwise, for those of you in the Buffalo area, you'll get a nice healthy dose of him. But enough with this, the minor stuff. It is time to go into wacky schedule. And I've Scott, just to warn you, because spoiler alert for those of you, Scott shared this one with us in advance. I will have some questions on each of these. But
I know. Yeah, we'll. I mean, I just want to tease a little bit so you guys can start collecting your thoughts. I don't want to have you guys, get the whole thing. So, and I will try and do this a little quicker, just because we want to keep this nice and tight tonight. So let's just jump right in. First game, home game versus the Bears. I don't know if you guys watched any of the Hall of Fame preseason game the other day, but the helmet rule starting to bite a little bit now. There's questions about whether or not they're overemphasizing in the preseason a little bit to get people to lay off for the regular season. But at some point, they're going to start calling those a little tighter. Didn't look like they were calling them up. There was some rumors that they were going to be calling them about offensive line and defensive line play. They weren't doing that yet, but I think we can all see a future not too far off in which the NFL decides maybe we don't tackle, and maybe we don't even play with offensive lines or defensive lines because guys could get hurt. I'm not going to say that's definitely going to happen, but I am definitely going to say it's going to happen in Game 9 of the Bills schedule this year.
Okay.
So that's definitely going to happen Game 9 this year. Bills-Bears. The game will be played 7-on-7 with two-hand touch rules. So
perfect.
So anyone tackling anyone will be essentially ejected from the game. So it's going to be a different game. I'm not sure I wouldn't watch, but it certainly isn't quite what we all signed on for NFL football. But maybe we'll all get there together. We'll find out. That's a discussion for another day. Let's start with Frank for his thoughts on this game.
So there is a professional flag football league that also features ex-NFL players. And I know we don't watch it, but someone's watching it, and maybe it's a matter of just time before it catches on. It's going to be. I'll be interested to have that bigger conversation because I think that it's one the NFL's having a lot right now. And so I think that this is obviously going to be now you might think, oh, okay, well, the Bills are terrible. So what would change? Why would they benefit from playing a team without, pads really? Because it's 7-on-7 2-hand touch. And the two-word answer is LeSean McCoy. If there are less people on the field, okay, then he gets to run like a crazy man. And it almost doesn't matter that the other guys are fast. He is just very elusive and fast. And I think that it's weird two-hand touch. It's actually easier to run the ball than throw it a lot of times. That might be based on the fact that we're usually terrible when we're playing it. But if you have a good running back and somebody who can and create space, I think McCoy really gets to shine. In fact, I think McCoy breaks the single game rushing and receiving record. I think he gets like a 350-yard rushing day because he only has to elude a handful of people. The Bears will also score lots of points because it's 7-on-7 2-hand touch. But I think that the Bills would win that game. Probably it's high scoring because it's 7-on-7. I'm going to say 45-39 and look for LeSean McCoy, 350 yards rushing on, 11 carries and, probably another 150 in receiving.
All right. That's and this kind of I had the one question, which is what was our personnel on this, but I guess we're going to have one quarterback and six skill players. We're going to have 1, 3 skill and 3 linemen here.
Oh, I just was assuming we could pick whoever we want.
I think you're gonna get 1 center to snap.
Okay.
And then you're gonna get 5 skill position players and a quarterback.
Got it. All right. Now I agree with it, and Frank brought up
and any defensive players, they can blitz, but you got to count 5 Mississippi.
Right.
Say it's a hard 5 Mississippi. I don't want to hear anyone. No, Mississippi. You have to say the whole thing.
Yep. See, that's why, and just I guess before Paul starts, that's why I'm not putting, not the Mississippi part, but that's why Kyle Williams is not on my 7-on-7 squad. I want the fastest guys there. I want, as soon as someone says 5 Mississippi, they're off. We don't have to block anybody. We don't really have to stuff the run. We need fast guys. So, even Star Lotulelei, I'm probably going, 6 linebackers and a safety or something. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I hadn't even thought about the defensive aspects. You're going to have Trey Edmonds out there, I'm sure, in the linebacker level. Yeah. I think you're going to want a Poyer and a Hyde and a Trey White. You're going to need those 3 out there for sure. Then I think the other 3
But Shaq Lawson could totally clean up in a system like this, right? Like this is his deal. So, anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll say it's interesting the personnel that would be used. I still think the Bears I think the Bills have such a lack of depth at the receiver spot, I think they're going to probably sextuple team McCoy a lot of the time and then just leave one guy to cover the other 4 and no one rushing the quarterback. And I think that probably will work. So I just fear, I think it's going to be a high scoring game as well. I think the Bears, however, are going to come on top just because McCoy's going to be winded by the time they get to, 30 points. So I'm going to say Bears win this again, high scoring 49 to, I'll say 37. I'll say there's a freak bad snap and a safety the Bills get in the course of this.
Wow. Okay. That sucks when you lose on a safety in 7-7. That's a rough day.
But that's a Bills thing right there. It's not like I'm stretching reality to come up with that one. That is very much a Bills thing.
Is it also the 7-on-7 rules where if there's a turnover or a fumble, the ball's automatically dead? And because
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't.
Okay, so you get the pick, but you can't run it back, or somebody drops the ball and you don't have to recover it. It's just dead.
Yeah, exactly. It's not rugby rules. You're not going the other way right away. But yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, this is a tough one because I mean the Bills obviously have a plus with LaShawn McCoy, but then they have a minus with a bunch of other guys who really are not going to be good in the open field. Like Kelvin Benjamin, he's tough to bring down, but in a 2-hand touch game, you don't have to worry about that. He's just He's just tall. That doesn't
more guy to touch.
Yeah, he's tall. It's going to help you catching. The DBs are still going to have to play him tight, but you just got to get your hands on him once he catches it. So whereas on the Bears side, just doing some quick research here, they don't have any. I'm not seeing a lot of football players. I see Allen Robinson, and I see Taylor Gabriel, who I believe is an NFL football player. But other than that, I don't know any of these guys. Now, admittedly, that's what I would say about all the other Bills receivers, other than Kelvin
in Chicago. Yes.
They are all currently signed to the Bears and are humans, at least we're told. But, yeah, I guess Trubisky might be a little bit better, but I'm not going to say by a lot. And so I will say the Bills. I'm going to say the Bills plus of LaShawn does end up beating out. I think this is even a bigger, more high scoring than Frank puts it out there. I'm going to say like 62 to 49.
Yeah.
Like in the future, all the games will be in the 50s. So, yeah.
Speaking of, can we briefly remark on the Washington Valor's stunning victory in the Arena Football League?
They're what, 2-10 season?
They were 2-10 in a 4-league team, and they won the playoffs and won the Arena Bowl against the Baltimore Brigade. Both teams owned by Ted Leonsis. So it's kind of Titletown, DC, and they of course have the big high scores. Truly a feat. It's amazing that the Arena Football League has 4 teams right now. But the high scores remind me of that. All right, I'm ready for the next.
That's true. All right. The parade is on never. Okay. So
no, they had this is true. They had a meetup at the Green Turtle at the Verizon Center.
Good.
That was the party for the Arena Football. So
and if Frank showed up there and said he was on the team,
no one would say no. Yep, no one would know the difference.
Exactly. Anyway, game 10 is at the New York Jets. Given we will be at the New York Jets, the NFL decided to essentially, again, they're concerned about injuries. The 7-on-7 thing, that's a lot of points scored, but they don't necessarily. There's still too many people getting injured. So what they decided to do was they took it to another level. Again, they're in New York. They're playing the Jets. They're saying, how can we want some tie-ins. We want to broaden the audience. Let's have a full Sharks versus Jets West Side Story dance battle. New York Jets versus Buffalo Bills. Both teams have 1 week to prepare a routine that is to be delivered in dance battle format for a panel of neutral judges. And there you go.
This is going to be compelling television.
I think so. I would tune in. I'm not sure if I'm tuning in for 7-on-7. I'm definitely tuning in for this.
I'm definitely tuning in for the week of watching them rehearse. like the reality show that is like them fighting about who's going to dance and what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. Peterman and McCarron, they're both trying to get the snaps down as they're walking towards the Jets, but then they just fumble.
Everyone's mad at Josh Allen because of his footwork still, and you're like, oh, or maybe it's the other way. Maybe he's like a great dancer, even though he's a terrible quarterback. Maybe he has like
What is the
You know?
dance equivalent of a quarterback who has a great arm but can't throw the ball accurately?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
not
I don't
two
know.
left feet. It's got to be like,
Gotta
you know
be,
what it
he's
is?
got
It's
like
you got really good moves, but like you do.
But you're out of rhythm, and or
I
whatever.
think it's like you do stupid jazz hands all the time, and it's like you can't do like your poses well, And
That's
you're like,
probably
yeah,
something
your
like that.
feet are great, but like holy cow, he really can crush the tap. But I mean,
So it's kind of like the
hands are all-
opposite of Elaine Bennis, basically.
Exactly.
Or maybe he's really good at doing steps, just not the ones that everyone else is doing.
Right.
All right.
I think you got to figure the kickers are going to play a big role in this,
Could be.
right?
Could be.
Like
Good point.
they probably are already doing tons of footwork.
I feel like the DBs are all. I mean, this is going to be a real DB heavy kind of challenge because they have good backwards and forwards footwork, good swivel in the hips, as they would say.
They used to do a lot of ballet to train football players. I remember when that was a thing.
I don't remember that was a thing.
Oh yeah, no, that was a thing. That was like a couple guys were taking ballet and they started playing better, so everybody took ballet for about 10 minutes in the 90s.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a hot 10 minutes for you, Frank. I don't even remember that. Wow.
I do. Yes, I do. Anyway, I think the problem is though, if we're doing West Side Story, when you're a jet all the way. Obviously, New York City is going to have better access to dancers. Not that there aren't good dancers in a dance troupe and people doing very well in Buffalo, but come on, New York is New York. And they have an entire road dedicated to people singing and dancing and acting. And I think that the Jets will get coached up better for this game. And West Side Story takes place in New York. I think you got a lot of home field advantages, and I don't think Buffalo can compete. So I think the Jets win a 9.7 out of 10. Buffalo a very nice 8 point. No, a very nice 9.1 out of 10. But really, not doing it for me, dog.
All right. Now, Frank, do you think there's an unfair advantage for the Jets being able to draw from the New York dance troupe at all? Would you be upset about that
I don't know, because if the answer is no, because it's a one-off game, and Scott later could certainly just sort of say, the Bills versus the Jets in a wing eating contest or a ice skating contest or a sledding down a hill contest, and I think Buffalo would then have the better access to things, and they would be able to be coached up better. Like at curling, I feel like the Bills are going to be set, but New York's New York, and Colorado is Colorado, and when you play baseball there, it's easier to hit home runs, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's fair enough. I think if I'm Sean McDermott, I'm still probably a little upset about it. I think on Monday I'm racing into the offices of Roger, and I'm going, "Gee, Commissioner Goodall, we're very upset." I think that's going to be the reaction to it. I think
the real answer is Paul wins.
The only question I have, clarification, is a two-parter. As Jets, are Riff and Tony going to be on the Jets? And if so, can the Bills get Bernardo and Chino?
No. This will be played exclusively. Yes. Now, again, if they want to do, obviously the Jets have the option of doing a West Side Story themed dance routine. That certainly is going to have a lot of resonance with the judges, but there's no explicit guidelines that they would have to.
All right. Okay. I'm just going to have to, I think when I decide who's going to win the Rumble, I think it's going to have to be the Jets for all the reasons that Frank had brought up previously. I think they were just made for this game. Let's be honest. So I've got to give the Jets the advantage on this. I think it's not going to be as close. I think it's going to be 9.8. I'll give them an extra point to the Bills. 4.6. I think all of the 7-on-7 the week before, so many of your skill players with the great feet are going to be tired from that week and worn out from going into rehearsals. So I think that's going to be a big disadvantage.
Okay, interesting. So I gave this one to the Bills.
All right.
Yeah, wow, good. I want to hear this.
Well, I feel like the Bills have, I think about who are you going to be your strongest players here? Because again, like the linemen, they're going to be in the back of the troop. They're going to be in the back of the theater. You're going to be the trees kind of dancing in the background. And no one's really going to – that's not how you're going to win this performance. Your performance is going to be your best guys, and that's going to be the wide receivers and the DBs, and maybe the running backs to a certain extent. So LaShawn McCoy, I'm gonna say he's a tremendous dancer. We can't really speak about his character. That's something we'll discuss about another day. About whether he'll be allowed to play in this game to do his dance.
Well, I'm glad you think this is funny, Scott.
But dancing, I'm not worried about. Again, Chris Brown can dance. We all know this. So otherwise, wide receivers and DBs, I still think we have the advantage. I think, again, you look at some of these wide receivers that the Jets are trotting out here. Jermaine Kearse, okay. Maybe he's got a little something. Robbie Anderson, no. Quincy Enunwa, like, not a bad player. Clearly, he torched us last season on the football field, but I'm not sure about him on the dance floor. Terrell Pryor, maybe a dark horse there, but I think I'd still like the Bills, again, not necessarily the receivers, but the DVs, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White. Those are three, I think, Class A dancers. I think they're going to be fine. So I'll also say I'm looking forward to what promises to be a very exciting duet between Sam Darnold and Josh Allen about the pressure of being a first-round draft pick and starting out and trying to, all the importance on them. I think it has a very powerful. Someone say something?
No, I'm sorry. That was Sean McDermott.
Okay.
MC Hammer retweeted the Buffalo Bills, and I'm trying to figure out why.
Okay, we need to figure
this
that
is
out.
good. We got to get to the bottom of that.
I'm going to say the Bills. I'm going to say this is going to be. Now, let's be clear though. The scores you guys are given, still not going to be great. I think the Bills are going to win this with like a 5.1. The Jets are going to lose with like a 3.2. Like, it's not going to be lighting the thing on fire here. So anyway, that is our second game. That one took a little longer than I thought. So third game. This one was going to be home versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Unfortunately, the NFL decided to, again, concerned about the injuries, they said, well, maybe we can play football, but maybe it's the times that are wrong. Maybe it's just our common, what's going on in this country right now that's the problem. Maybe if we went back to a time when maybe human life was a little less, maybe had a different value, perhaps. Maybe I'm taking this too far. But they go back to Aztec times, roughly 1200 AD. They put everybody in the time machine, and they forced them to play a game of American football in one of the big stadiums that they would play the Aztec ball game in. And I thought I put the link in the email. I did not. I will put it in the screen at some point if I can find it. But basically, they're obviously, like, not every game ended in human sacrifice, but I'd also say they probably wouldn't rule it out, given a bunch of, strange looking white guys and black guys showing up in a bunch of equipment. That's definitely going to be on the table. So I think everyone's going to be pretty highly motivated. But yes, so that is our time travel special for this season.
All right, I think I'll jump in on this one first. I won't spend too long. I really tried to analyze deeply the culture of the Aztecs, what their value systems were that would, make them really want to, watch this battle and just see how things go, and then, who they'd want to see from either side on it. But I think what inevitably is going to happen, early on in this is they're going to introduce the coaches, and the coaches will give some grand performance and discussion. And I think they're just going to be so annoyed by Doug Marrone speaking, as all of us are, that they're going to sacrifice him immediately.
Oh, wow.
They're not going to do any sort of competition, like sacrifice him. And then once that happens, Jags don't have a head coach. I think that's definitely going to hurt them in this game. I think they're going to be discombobulated. I think the Bills win this one running away because of that. 36-8. And I say only Shaq Lawson and Logan Thomas are ritually slaughtered.
Okay. How does Does that affect next week, you think? I mean, I guess it has to, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Do we have to keep this in continuity now?
no, I think what we'll do is
it's like the Halloween movies. Each one is its own continuity at this point.
Yeah, it's kind of an anthology of Bill's wacky schedule. It's not serialized.
It's a Bill's Elseworld tale where it's a what if.
Yeah.
A Marvel what if. I don't know. This is hard.
So again, just for some people at home who may not know, the Aztec ball court is going to be stone. So that's going to definitely probably affect the game. It's probably going to lead to a little more injuries. Might test the depth of both sides.
Okay. How do I want to do this one? I think, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance. There's a lot of to-do with this game. There's a lot of scariness going on. But I'm good for this at least once a year. And I think you know where I'm going with this now. At the end of the day, it's a football game.
It's a football game.
It's a football game. And I think that even if they lose Doug Marrone, the Jaguars are just better on defense, and they're not quite as terrible as the Bills are probably going to be on offense this year. And I think the Jags win this football game. What was it, 10-7? So I'll say 10-3. I think that they'll come home with some interesting trinkets, though.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, this one it's really compelling, and it's not that it didn't speak to me. It's just I could go forever on it, and I feel like we
okay.
I don't want to because I just don't want to. I like it. It's just I felt like I don't know when else I'm going to use the. It's still a football game if I don't use it here.
This week, there probably are a few more. The West Side Story dance battle, not a football game anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So you can't say that about that. So
exactly.
I had this one going to the Jags as well, also for similar reasons that Frank pointed out. I mean, I think just based off of performance, I'm not sure that any quarterbacks make it through the game alive. I think that Blake Bortles, Josh Allen, Nathan Peterman, AJ McCarron, none of them are really going to really impress the locals. I'm not sure that they're all going to make it. I think LaShawn McCoy is going to be a big hit. Admittedly, Jaguars still have a pretty good defensive line, but I'd imagine over the course of the game they will get wear down. I think those guys just end up on the ground more. Therefore, them playing on stone, that'll end up hurting them. And Leonard Fournette, he's going to be a tough guy to tackle. But again, if you can get him, LaShawn, he's very good at not getting hit too hard. Leonard Fournette, he goes down pretty much at the end of every play. Even though he's a little younger, again, I think the stone's going to take it out of him. So I have the Bills pulling this one out. Again, low scoring, probably something like 17-7, maybe. So
I'd be excited to watch them play the actual Aztec ball game, though.
Yes, Ulama, which is still being played today.
Yes.
Does sound interesting. Perhaps maybe next Mesoamerican.
Maybe next Quetzalcoatl. Yeah. That's really the way I should have gone, is some sort of Quetzalcoatl 2012 Doom prophecy thing, but
that would have been.
I blew it all on the musical. What can I say?
Right. No, it was fun. So this is our 11th. The other one I was going to do this. I still haven't done it this year. I sort of did it with the Peterman Chargers thing. I was going to have them because the Jags game is right after the bye. I was going to say, what if they played the Jags the week of the bye and then had the week of the bye afterwards?
Oh man,
blow my mind.
Mind blown. Okay. Anyway, at Dolphins last game. So this is the one we always get into this time of year. The Bills and the Dolphins. The Bills have to go to South Florida and play. They're not accustomed to it. The Dolphins are conditioned for that kind of weather. And then obviously the reverse happens. The Dolphins not accustomed to playing up north. Obviously, last year the Bills did have some snow impacts on games. This one at the Dolphins, beginning of the month of December. The Bills, as the fans always, the media making a big deal about the weather. The Dolphins say, tell you what, we'll help you out. We'll play this game not at Sun Life Stadium, whatever the F it's called. We're going to play it indoors. We're going to play it down at the local rec center. And they're just going to play a football game, full tackle football game, regular NFL rules on an admittedly shorter field. Again,
so not basketball or Ulama. Regular football,
So it's going to, so the field it's going to be regular rules except for the fact that your end zones are only going to be about 30 yards apart. We're going to
Mhm.
play on it's not going to be a single basketball court, but at the rec center, they have like the double basketball courts that are like right next to each other. So they're going to play there. So you have that width of space. So it's a little like an arena football game, but even more constricted. So I think it'll be interesting to see how you guys handle this one.
Is
There's
the hoop in play?
The hoop is still there. They weren't able to get the hoop out. This is kind of a last second
football fields where like that the goalpost used to be up
in the middle of the thing. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay. All right.
The hoop is in play.
Well, Paul, you're free to go first on this one.
Sure. Well. I have a surprise pick on this one. I think the Bills lose, and I think the Dolphins lose. And the winner, the Washington Valor. I think spoiler alert.
Oh my God, that's the Valor's music.
Yes. They're gonna cash in their money in the bank.
No.
They're gonna realize this is their big chance to win an NFL game. Because once you've won the Arena League, that's the thing. You get your money in the bank briefcase,
right?
And you get to go and choose the game of your choice, pop in, and then try to win that game.
It's kind of like the Premier
Paul
League.
Letting out a treacherous amount of wrestling knowledge into the podcast. He's sort of he's feeling everybody out to see if they watch wrestling.
Someone who watched Raw 2 weeks ago and now thinks he knows everything. That is exactly what I'm doing. So I think that's exactly what's going to happen, and I think they're going to pick this game because of the confined spaces element of it. And I think they will push the record to 5-10, including playoffs, with their 2 playoff wins, and then the win over the Bills and Dolphins. They're just going to be totally floored to see a third team come on the field.
Wait, so then is it a loser leaves town match, and then the Valor starts playing regular NFL games, and then either the Dolphins or the Bill gets relegated to the Arena League?
That's a good question. I've got to look at the Money in the Bank contract a little more closely, having just invented this scenario about a minute and a half ago. So I will simmer on that while Frank comes up with his.
Can we get a contracts lawyer in here? Is there a contracts lawyer?
Yes, no contracts lawyers, sadly, that I'm aware of.
Yeah. This is all, and not that we're allowed to request, but if there were some sort of WWE rules, wacky schedule week.
Oh,
I think we could do a whole podcast on that one game. I find myself just to follow up with Paul really quickly. I find myself accidentally tuning into like 10 minutes of Raw every now and then.
Accidentally tuning into porn. You don't accidentally do it. You slipped or like, this is not a bad option. I'm going to go.
I see it and I go, what's going on with wrestling these days? And I watch it for 10 or 15 minutes. And I will say that women's wrestling, we might have talked about this because Glow is a great show. But women's wrestling is excellent. And men's wrestling to me now, and not in a prurient way, like it's just like the quality is excellent now. And men's wrestling, everybody looks the same. Everybody looks like Aquaman and Justice League fighting each other, and it's just that's not fun to me. But anyway, back to the game. This is a tricky thing. It makes me feel like gym class where you would be reined in and you couldn't go outside, and they would just be like, all right, we're gonna play. We used to play on our knees in the wrestling room. You'd get on your knees and you couldn't really run. You'd have to like waddle on your knees and play football, which was an interesting way to do it. But this is a little different. I don't know what to make of this. I like your Valor idea. I think that I'd like to think that the game turns on a bad throw that hits the backboard and is deflected in return for an interception touchdown.
Seems more likely that Josh Allen's going to do that than anybody.
Yeah. Here's what I think. I'll land on this. I think the Bills win this game because I think that the Dolphins fans, you can't fit nearly as many of them. No, you know what? The Dolphins win. Because the Dolphins don't have a ton of fans that come to these games, but they would all fit in a basketball arena. And so they would come for the air conditioning and they would be extra loud because it's contained now. And I think the Bills really struggle with their play calling because they can't hear each other and they'd have to take those timeouts because they can't hear anything. And we all talk about the 12th man and how great they are, but really it's like 15,000, maybe not even. I mean, let's say 7, maybe if it's a rec center gym, maybe it's like 3,000, Dolphins fans.
No. I mean, I'm thinking this is like a real like rec center gym where it's like there's barely enough. There's like 50 football players in the room, and maybe you get like school bleachers for like another
so
200.
like 500 people. Like maybe we could be okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that it will make a difference. They'll be loud. The refs will be intimidated by the crowd. They'll start calling for things for the Dolphins. And we will get the deflection pass. I think Nathan Peterman will hit the backboard. It'll get picked off and returned for a touchdown. And the Dolphins will win this game 24 to 20. We'll say that it's close otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going to be, in terms of, again, tune in or not, I think everyone's tuning in for the Aztec game, certainly. This game, I'm not sure I'm watching this one. This seems like, I don't think there's going to be a lot of completed passes.
Always good when the schedule maker is like, I don't know if I'd watch this.
I mean, I'm not sure I'm going to watch. I'm not sure I'm going to watch the regular Bills-Dolphins game on December 2nd.
Fair.
We're here in Miami where the 1-11 Bills are playing the 0-12 Dolphins. So it's going to be, again, there's not going to be a lot of room to run because that's shorter than that's less wide than a regulation football field. You're not going to have, it's going to be like playing in the red zone because there's not enough room to throw the ball. So everyone's going to be running these real short routes. All the receivers, all the DBs can just kind of play zone. The D line is going to be going nuts. They're going to be moving real fast. They're going to be playing on sneakers. I feel like that's definitely a benefit for the D line because they're going to be, coming at these QBs like headhunters. It's going to be real choppy. There's going to be guys kind of like old people just kind of like walking onto the court and just kind of looking around. And then the ref's going to have to stop the game, be like, no, aqua service or whatever is on Tuesdays at 2:00. You're in the wrong place, Grandpa. There's going to be a kids' basketball game. Is going to show up.
Where's the pickleball? Right?
There's going to be a lot of those kind of stops. You're going to have to get the guys out there to mop up the floor, like in an NBA game after every play. Frankly, it's going to be pretty dangerous. So not a fun game to watch. I didn't really think about how they're going to do field goals, but that's an interesting. Maybe I didn't think this through. But anyway, I'm going to say the Bills. I mean, this might be a safety kind of game.
Okay.
And I think this is going to be like, I'm going to say this is going to be like 8-6 Dolphins. Like literally it's going to be 7. I think that's what's going to happen.
The shallow end zones is another thing. Like it's probably not big end, right? So
Yeah. Again, the run game is going to be crucial here. I'm just not sure it's going to turn into like an old school rugby game where you're literally just everyone just kind of gets into a big scrum. You just try and push the other guys out of the way and hope you get 10 yards, which again is going to get you about halfway down the field at this point. So that's wacky schedule. And I do have some ideas already for the last. So I'm
bravo, sir.
Join us next week for the finale of Wacky Schedule. And now I'm upset that I didn't think of how the shallow end zone would affect things, because in the Arena League, that could be a problem for the Valor. So we're going to have to, I might have to reassess that offline. But
yeah, no, well, it's too late to change your pick now. I mean, it's locked in.
It's locked in. It's
in the computer now. We can't undo it. So
right. It cannot be changed. So this day, we're going to brand it today only as This Day in Bills headlines. Though I will admit I was impressed when my wife saw my printout of notes for today's agenda, and she took a look at it and she's like, this is all this. She saw the TDIBH and she was like, this is all This Day in Bills history. I'm like, you knew the acronym. I was so thrilled. But today only, it's This Day in Bills headlines, because they're all preseason headlines that went down. So Scott won't have to worry about coming up with a more creative correct answer. So when I mention Bills receiver, whatever, he doesn't have to say that would be United States Navy Admiral Donald S. Jones, born in Madison, Wisconsin, who is known for one of the first ever pilots of Helicopter 66. And then hilariously, he'd be right, because the answer would be Donald Jones, the Bills receiver, and he'd be correct, because that's how Scott works. Yep. But we're gonna make this a little contest. I'm going to race through. We're gonna do it quickly. A Bills headline, and I'm going to leave out the name of the player or Bills personnel, and whoever jumps in with the correct answer
or a good answer,
or a good answer, we're going to deem the winner for that round. And I will, you know what? We're going to have some fun with this. I'm going to have a little column here called Frank, and I'll have another one called Scott, and I will tally whichever one of you gets in first with each of these answers. So here we go. August 8th, 2017. McDermott on Bills signing of this player. Good addition for our team and organization.
Ron Weasley.
So close.
EJ Gaines.
Oh, no. The correct answer, Anquan Bolden.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I knew. That's what I was thinking. It was one of those guys that we brought in and they didn't make the team.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. This is a slightly tougher one. 2016, Buffalo Bills re-sign this linebacker after Reggie Ragland injury.
Sean Merriman.
Moses Malone.
Both correct, but also Brandon Spikes.
Yes. That figures.
All right.
Okay.
We'll get someone's getting on the board soon.
All right, we're going to do it here.
Here we go. 2015. Player says he's a changed man and grateful to resume NFL career.
What year is this?
2015.
2015. Changed man. Happy to be back.
William Jennings Bryan.
Yeah, that's probably who it is.
It is.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Devin Nunes.
Yes. Devin Nunez, Richie Incognito, William Jennings Bryan. Correct answer.
Why are we so bad at this? That's like the most obvious answer.
I give up. Yeah, no, these are all terrible ones. We should have all gotten all of these.
All right. 2014, the Bills and Panthers played a preseason game, and Bills cornerback Stephon Gilmore struggled a bit. Correct. So true is correct. So here's the headline. Bills outlast Panthers for first preseason win. This Panthers receiver's touchdown against Stephon Gilmore shows cornerbacks rust.
Oh, Kelvin Benjamin.
Oh, Frank jumps in with Kelvin Benjamin.
I said that at the same time.
I think based on how poorly we've done so far, we have to split that point.
Okay.
All right. We're going to give you one each. I'm going to give you a full point each because, frankly, you both need it. All right. I'm not optimistic about this next one. 2013, Buffalo Bills kicker hitting the mark. Hint,
Steven
because he
Hauschka.
never kicked a day for the Bills in his career.
Okay.
So not Dan Carpenter.
Or Hauschka.
He is a Pro Bowl kicker.
Chip Low-Miller.
Right team, Scott or Frank.
Oh, there you go. There's a clue.
Oh, of course. Thanks.
You just remember who Chip Low-Miller played for.
I'll give you a hint. He played several miles from your house.
Okay.
Jimmy Washington.
Yeah, exactly. Dan Snyder.
Dan Snyder, yes. Dustin Hopkins.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. All right. This one I'm going to have to give a severe hint for based on our success so far. But we'll get this one. 2012, Buffalo Bills linebacker making quite an impression at camp. One might say you don't want to cross him.
Oh, Arthur Moats.
There, all right.
That's
that
no one gets points for that.
All right, fine. All right, so we're still at 1-1. 2011, Buffalo Bills, I'll just say player, could be battling for roster spot. It says, with Nick Barnett, Chris Kelsey, Sean Merriman, and Andre Davis, the likely stars, and Arthur Moats, Kelvin Shepard, and Reggie Torbor tabbed as backups, this outside linebacker could be fighting to stay on the team.
Dipshit McGee. No, wait, what was... Who's the guy? We got Aaron Maven. I'm going to say Aaron Maven.
Frank jumps in with Aaron Maven. Well done, Frank. All right. 2010. This now dead Bills former coach.
I have to get there.
Returned to the Buffalo Bills. Former positional coach, I should specify.
I don't want to joke because he's dead. I don't have a good answer.
Special teams.
Margot Kidder.
Margot Kidder. Actually, Linda Carter.
Linda Carter's alive. Don't
I know. Bruce DeHaven.
Melissa Benoit. Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, man. This is getting dark. All right. 2009. These two Bills members are inducted into the Hall of Fame. Chris Berman gives one of the speeches. Ted Cottrell gives the other.
Jim Kelly.
And Bruce Smith.
And Bruce Smith.
We got one of them. Bruce Smith is one. The
Andre
other
Reed.
It was Ralph Wilson.
Ralph Wilson.
All right, we're giving it 3-2 Frank at this point because you both jumped in with correct answers.
No, I did not. Give it to him.
All right, 2-2.
Correct.
All right, 2008. This Bill is grateful for action. He says it's a lot of fun knowing that I could just come out and play football, not worry about the things behind the scenes. I'm enthused about the upcoming opportunity, and I'm going to try to take advantage of it. Well, the person who played the same position as him and was drafted in the first round, the headline was his actions cause excitement. So name either of these Bills who play the same position in 2008. One was a first round draft pick. The other was just happy to be there.
2007 NFL draft. No.
That's cheap. Marshawn Lynch and Fred Jackson.
Oh, Frank gets them both.
Wow.
Marshawn and
I
Fred.
had to get there, and I'm like, who were we drafting? And it was stupid. It was running backs, and
Who are we wasting picks on that year? Oh,
right.
This is 5 bonus points I decided to award for whoever gets this one.
well, then the whole game didn't matter to this point. Thanks, Paul.
It hasn't really mattered much to begin with. All right, 2007. This Bills defensive end pleads not guilty after a confrontation arrest. The sub-headline, charged with harassment, resisting arrest, and criminal mischief after an altercation outside Rochester's Venue nightclub at 151 St. Paul Street. He argued with a bouncer. He shoved an officer in the face and broke his glasses. He was eventually fined $300 and performed 200 hours of community service.
I think I know who it is. Go ahead, Paul or Scott.
O.J. Simpson.
Anthony Hargrove.
Oh wow! Frank gets
Well
huge
done.
bonus points for this.
That was a
Okay.
Rochester thing, and then that's where I'm from. So I paid particular. I was like, I've been to
yeah.
that club. How could you get that drunk at that club?
All right, now Scott, you're not out of it because
Wow.
this.
How many more of these are there?
This is great.
I'm having fun. This is tremendous. We should do this every week. But at this point,
this is how I spent my lunch hour, so we're doing the whole damn thing.
all right.
All right, 2006. This is worth 10 bonus points because it's pretty impossible based on what I've seen so far. Jick Geron says cutting this linebacker was a tough decision.
What year again?
London Fletcher Becker.
2006.
London Fletcher.
Takeo Spikes.
Jeff Ring Around the Posey.
Oh, Jeff Posey.
Jeff Posey.
All right.
Who cares?
All right, here we go. This one's a gettable one. We'll give it 5 bonus points. Bills player slowly accepting switch to safety.
Oh, George Wilson.
Oh, God, that was a great guess for both of you, but it was actually Troy Vincent.
Oh,
Yeah, he was.
yeah.
All right, this is a Scott-only question for 2005 for just a bonus point. Also on headlines that day, this Wisconsin player trying to beat the odds.
Lee Evans.
Jim Leonard.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
Well-
Leonard wasn't really trying to beat the odds because he was
Well,
a first-round pick. Leonard was a nobody.
But at that point, I don't know who was the other wide receivers at that point, or if he was on the team. Yes, no, I do. Yeah, that would make more sense.
Right.
And I should probably just stop playing now, given I have a Jim Leonard Wisconsin jersey. I should really probably stop playing.
That's okay. There was also a headline that day: Chris Kelsey among elite in draft class. That's hilarious.
Whoops.
All right, 4 to go, guys. You can do this. 2004, Donahoe Bills finally get first glimpse of rehabbed blank.
Mike Williams.
Good guess, but no. Frank.
JP
Right.
Lossman.
Willis McGahee.
Oh, the other one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not even going to bother with this one. But
No,
you know what?
come
Yes.
on, do it.
Okay.
Do it, yeah.
Rookie Bills receiver catching on. 2002.
Eric Molds. No, damn it. He's ending his
that's
career in
Evans.
2002.
It's got to be Evans, right?
It is
Peerless
Josh.
Price.
Josh Reed.
Ah.
It was, yeah.
All right. Now these are all worth 20. No, this one's worth 5 points. The 2 after this are worth 20 because if you get the 2 after this, I will die. 2001.
Now I'm going to feel bad if I get them.
This player dislikes SI's illustration of him. Almost from the time he arrived in Buffalo, he's been fighting an unflattering image that he is nothing more than a California pretty boy, masquerading as a quarterback.
Drew Bledsoe?
He's from Washington, right?
Yeah, he played in Washington. I wasn't sure if he was from there.
So then, who else was-
2001.
Rob Johnson.
Yep, there you go. 3 and
There it
13
is.
season. So Scott back on the board.
Yeah. Woo.
All right, these two near impossible, but we'll go for it. Unflashy, now dead Bills safety emerges as frontrunner for Bills' free safety job. He died in 2016. He ended up playing 4 or 5 years and then went to Atlanta, I believe, after that.
We almost certainly talked about him then if he died in
We did.
2016.
Yep, he was podcast discussed. He was on an agenda.
Mac Yoho.
It was his
Damn it.
daughter, actually.
Oh,
I
don't know.
I got nothing.
All right. Keon Carpenter.
Keon Carpenter.
Okay.
All right. And the last one, and this was obviously a great use of my lunch hour today.
This is great.
Yeah.
This is super fun.
Yes.
All right. Here we go. 1999. This player takes another step to stardom. I want to be in the same situation where we can rest Bruce and we will still play winning football. I'm starting to see the gray hairs coming out of Bruce's nostrils, so it's almost my turn. But it's not there yet. I have to wait until the full beard turns gray. 1999.
Oh,
Aaron Schobel?
yeah, that's what I was going to guess.
Ooh, it was actually now ESPN commentator Marcellus Wiley.
Marcellus Wiley. Yes.
So
Also
that
on
was
Didn't
this
seem like
day.
something Aaron Schobel would say, but yeah, because I couldn't think of anybody else.
This is this day in Bills headlines, August 8th, every year from 2017 to 1999, except 2002, because it was the most impressive headline was really depressing. So I just skipped it entirely.
That was a lot of work, but honestly, that was a lot of fun, and I
Yep.
would want to do that again.
Yeah,
Let's
we're
do that
gonna. This
regularly.
is what I plan to do for the preseason ones because we're not gonna have any real significant game to analyze for any of these. I mean,
Sure.
some of it there might be an entertaining headline like, Tim Tyndale proves he's future of Bills running backs based on his performance in game. Most of the games tend to be pretty dry. So
I think if it plays well, maybe we got to stick with it.
all right, I can if it
This
works
is
out
pretty
during the
solid.
preseason, we'll put it on during the regular season. And thank you to the folks at Two Bills Drive who also keep a great repository for me to go through and help dig up some of these headlines.
Bills Drive. One of the original, really. I mean, that was.
Yeah, I mean, this site went all the way back to '99 when I'm finding Marcellus Wiley headlines.
I have a question. Do you guys think we're one of the longest running podcasts at this point?
I'd say we'd have to be.
We were certainly at the we're certainly at before the wave crested, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, there were guys kicking around.
I know
mean,
Bills and Beers, I think, has been around slightly longer than us. Which,
Mhm.
by the way, I will get to be watching a game with them. I'll tell you more about that later.
Oh, good. Yeah, I want to hear about that.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see. 20. I've got to look at their repository, but
We can look that up later. It
Yes.
just was a thought I had. Because I'm about to give all the information because we haven't had to do that in a while.
all right.
And now
Yeah.
that we're recording on Hangouts, I got to let everyone know. Facebook.com/BBillsMNY, BBillsMNY on Twitter, BBillsMNY@gmail.com. You can find our podcast anchor.fm/BBillsMNY, and wherever I link this, because I don't know that I'm going to go through the effort to find these podcasts and bring them over and do something with them. We'll see. But I don't know, but that's where they are now. You can also go to bbillsmny.wordpress.com, which is still there and hosts our older podcasts. The archive, if you will. Yes. But we have a lot of fun doing this, and I can't think of anything else that I usually say right now other than please listen, please get your friends to listen, let us know what you think. And thank you so much for listening. This has been a lot of fun. Did you guys have fun?
It was a great time. Yep. And
Yeah,
Bills 24, Panthers 21.
Oh, right. Yeah. Bills 5,000, Panthers 3,000.
Bills 3, Panthers 2.
Perfect.
All right. Cam Newton gets angry. We didn't even talk about how he's angry at Kelvin Benjamin. And I think maybe as we get closer to the start of the season, we'll have a bigger conversation about LaShawn McCoy. But that's still a lot of stuff to parse through. And I'm not ready to do that yet. But until next time, thank you so much for listening, everyone. My name is Frank.
Scott.
I'm Paul.
Good night.